Hey guys, Dave here, Broken Block Garage. How y'all doing? It's Sunday, Lord's Day. I couldn't sleep, just in a bunch of pain. You know how it goes, But just back problems and everything like that. Can't lift nothing heavy. So I'm doing all light work. I've been that way since June, but it's been pretty bad. So I sit down a lot. Anyways, today we're going to be doing, taking care of some pistons. All right. I already scaled them up. Let me get flipped around here. All right. And, make sure that you do all your measurements. Get all the rod ends, okay? And you got to measure, that's what this jig is for. It's a little homemade jig I made. It goes up on here. Zero it out. And then, oops, sorry, wrong way. That one goes there. That one goes there. Zero it out. Okay, it's zero. And you take this rod here, okay? Let me get it in there. And, pain in the butt. And you find out what you got. See how that's supposed to work? And you want that completely leveled. I got a little level here that I use. And I set it up on there so I get the best bubble on it and level it up, which is really good shape. A little off, but it's fine. But then you measure that down, that way you know what each rod is. That's on the small end, all right? And if you need to get it scaled down so they all weigh the same, you grind it from this end here, okay? And that'll take weight off of here, like I've got done here. You can see one here. I gotta move my vise. Let's see, I had to take a lot off of this one. You can actually see the difference. See how much weight? Look at that, how much is gone. Let me turn it around for you guys that don't get it. Anyway, see it? There's a lot of weight off of there. You can see the difference. So, but anyways, you want to measure these up, do your scaling. Once you do that, then you turn it around, measure your big ends, and then you write down all the numbers. Everything that you scale up, you write down, even when you get down to your 0 gram that you want. Because right about there is where you would take it, then you would zero it out, and then you would measure up the other ones. And it'll tell you plus or minus, and then you take the lightest rod and zero it out, all right? And then after that, once you zero it out, now you measure the rest of them, and whatever's there, you take off to make sure it measures 0 grams. And make sure you do it on the big end too. You turn this jig around, go the other way. Okay, so that tells you how to do that. Same thing with the pistons. All right, now pistons, you got to write down everything. Like, I can't express enough to write down everything. I'll tell you why. Make sure you measure your wrist pins. You scale them down, all right? And you write down each weight of each one, all right? Because sometimes you can get a heavy one. If so, you just take it off this end right here, okay? Until you get the right gram, all right? Then you measure up the piston, all right? Take the piston, you scale it up. And you write down on each one, like I did here. And you can see the different numbers that I had between this. And these are brand new pistons. Look at it. 874, 873, 873, 871. Okay, I mean, they bounce around. Look at that. 872s. Every one of them is different. 873, there's a 3 there. And this one had to take 3 grams off. Look at that. And that one was a, 871. See? So you take your lightest piston, and then you go from there, and then you measure it up, and you take off from there, and you can see where I take the scale from, right down the side there. And let me get some light down there. There you go. You can see right down there, a drill dimple. There you go. That's where I take my weight from, and on the other side too. That's where I take my weight to get it grammed up perfectly. Alright, so I get down to I get them down to 1 gram. All right, a lot of guys get them to 0. Other guys at some machine shops say, hey, you can only get them in 3 gram. Yeah, whatever. You know, if that's what you can do, that's what you can do. You know. But I always try to get it down to the gram. That way everything's zeroed out. Plus, my crank balancing guy loves it. He's like, good. Because I've even given my stuff, make sure he checked my numbers. And he's never questioned me ever since then. He said, well, you got it right. Everything was zeroed. I said, darn right, because I want a good rotating assembly. Now, with this paper, this is what's important. When you go and you balance up your rods, your pistons, your rings, and make sure, oh yeah, make sure you throw your set of rings on here too when you do the measurement, because we need to know the ring weight on everything. Everything needs to be weighed, all right? And you need to know the numbers. So everything gets written down there, all right? And if you're using, this one fortunately is a press fit, so this one doesn't require the clips for a floating rod, okay, full floater. So I don't need the clips at all. So that's great. I just press fit them in there on the press. Now, why this part is so important is right there, crankshafts. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about crankshafts. Each crank is balanced internally or externally. Small block Chevy's the mouse motor compared to the big block Chevy, the rat motor. The difference is a real critical one too, for especially engine builders. 350 Chevys, 289, 327s, they're all internally balanced. All right. What that means is that you can run it with the different flywheels and all. It's internally balanced within the rotating assembly with the harmonic balancer. All right, and they balance it up internally. All right. Now what we do with big block is externally balanced. That means harmonic balancer and flywheel has got to be measured for the crank, and that's where they take the weight out of. All right, you've probably seen these holes on here, which I'm going to show you right there. See, that's where they take the weight out of. All right, sometimes they fill them, okay, if they have to add weight. What's real important is when you go to your local machine shop to have a crank balanced to match your rotating assembly. All right, you need to know this paperwork goes with it. Oh, I make copies of it, but I put it more professional in a word processing thing my wife does for me. But you take this, make sure you take the flywheel that you're going to use on this specific vehicle, automatic or stick shift, the bolts that goes in the back, make sure you get the bearing for the back if you're using stick shift, the bronze or the bearing style. Make sure you take the harmonic balancer with you, the one you're going to use for this car, which happens to be this one. I just ain't cleaned it up yet, and I already pulled out the clutch thing part. All right, this one happens to be automatic, but it had a clutch bearing in it. Someone had a stick shift on this at one time, I'm assuming. Anyways, make sure you take the harmonic balancer with you, and he's going to need all that right there to balance it up all properly, because it's externally balanced up here, and that gets all balanced with the rotating assembly numbers. So this is your Bible, basically. All right. All right. Now that's all covered. Press fitting rods. All right. I see a lot of guys screwing up the rods, and they'll take a torch and they will heat up this end of the rod only. I do not like that. I've seen things go wrong that way. So what I do is I have a big oven here. I put them in here at 200 degrees, bake them all up, the whole rod, the entire rod. I heat up. Now I get my heat glove, come in here, grab a rod, go right over to here, and I press fit that in the piston right off the bat. Okay, it'll take that pin as you press them in right in there. Make sure you have the proper measurement how deep it's got to go, because you know the piston floats on the pin, the rod does not float. That's why they call it a press fit. That's the difference between a floating rod or a press fit rod. Otherwise, this is your tight part. All right, now if you had a floating rod, you would have to use the clips in here, and this stays stationary. All right, and then the rod moves between here. and usually you have a bronze bearing in here. That's some of the better rods will have that. Scat rods, so forth like that. But that's the difference between a floating rod and a press fit rod, all right? Press fit, this moves left and right. Full floating rod, this is stationary, the rod moves, okay? So that you understand that, all right? All right, anyways, after you do that, you come over to here, you press it up. It's good to invest. Go to Harbor Freight, pick up their pneumatic one. That way you ain't a one pump chump trying to hold 3 different things, a piston, a wrist pin, and a rod in line. You know, or you can do all that at once. And then I made myself a little dum-dum plate down here, and I put my foot on it. And it does the work for me, you know? So it's pretty cool, ain't it? Alright, so that saves you a lot of aggravation there. And then when you get done, it should look like this right here. Alright? It's fully measured on both sides. Make sure you got the same distance on both sides, left and right. Make sure you got full motion without no binding. Alright? You gotta make sure of that. Some guys like to use light coat of oil on them. I do on the one end, inside the piston itself, before I put it in the hot through here, because it kind of heats it up through here when I press fit real quick. Remember, this is hot here, the whole thing. And I let it normally cool down together, just like if it was running in the engine. The entire heat level goes through the entire engine. I do the same thing the engine does. That way you can get the wrist pin in or out. You know, it makes it easier to press in. You don't stretch out these ends or ruin the wrist pin or anything like that. Okay? So that takes care of that. If you get them good and hot, I've seen guys just take their hands and just press them right in there, and then they let them cool. Or they use a shot of Freon, which I do not approve of doing that. When they shoot the Freon on here to do a fast cool, I've seen cracks through here. All right? And if you're going to not do it right, you're most likely going to end up with something that looks a little about like this if you screw up. All right? That's a press fit, and it went boom, boom. Okay? Anyways. All right, the next thing after that, all the parts are in for the valve job. Springs, keepers, seals, everything like that's all in. Everything's ready to go. I got everything all prepped up, milled up, measured up. Everything's topped out, all zero. So it's all ready to go. Everything's measured. So that way when I put on my roller rockers, which are Harlan Sharps, that's the only ones I use. I try to. And I try to always tell my customers, it's a local guy out here. He does a really nice job on them. And I've never had one problem with them. And I had one roller that went bad. And the guy was real quick to replace the set. I gave him the old set, and he saw what failed on it. You know, and sure, it only had like 3 or 4 bad. Like my buddy down the road here, he had one that went bad, and he went down there and they exchanged it for him. How nice is that? That's what you call local business and a businessman. I mean, he takes care of his customers. Not like those people over here at the big box store over at the S place. That's why I go to Jegs. You know, all my parts come in, everything. I mean, when I order something, it comes in within the next day. You guys are getting shortages. I never had that problem. Look at all the stuff that I order. Look, it's all sitting here waiting. I get them within a couple days. You know, so I don't know what the problem is with the other states, but I know there's a problem. I'm not being ignorant about it. But I don't know, maybe you're ordering something special. Maybe that's why the problem is. But I use a lot of big cams, special grinds, and Comp always been real cool with me and always took care of me. And I usually get things real easy, even during this pandemic, which has been a blessing, you know. But yeah, the next thing we got to do too is what do you call it? Getting the valve train all together. I'll teach you on that, how to get that done. Then we got to do spring testing. I'll show you how that's done. Where you measure up the head and you measure up the pistons. I mean, you just got a whole bunch of things that you need to know before you build your engine. Remember, if you get lost, don't assume that you know what you're doing. How many YouTube mechanics out there? Yeah, I can't express enough how many of these guys are out there. And they do not have a clue. You know, just like I told you how to measure up pistons and get them down to the gram. I checked out a bunch of other videos that were out there about that. They didn't mention half the stuff I tell you about. And you need to know this. Especially, you know, when you get down to the gram, you want a perfect motor. I mean, it's not going to be perfect. I mean, you're going to have mechanical failures, and that's due to process or machining. And it's not due to assembly, okay? A lot of it's manufacturing problems. I've had cams that come in, and I've checked them out, and they look good, and I come in there, and all of a sudden, I got a soft lifter, and it ate the cam. I had that happen to a guy with a 350, and that motor ran good on my in the testing, but then all of a sudden it just started running real bad. All of a sudden it ate the lifter. It's like one lifter. What the hell? That tells you something. I went through the heads and all the valve pressures were all right, so there was no reason for that to do that, other than the Rockwell testing on the, you know, the lifter itself. Or as you go, the guys overseas would say, "You tap it," you know, you got to tap it. Anyways, so I had problems there, and I've had problems with crane cams. Never had a problem with Iskandarians or Comps or Earlton or none of that. You know, I stay away from a lot of Elo block stuff, and I stay away from Moon products. I mean, it's a shame, but they're no longer made here, and I support my country, and I support the auto industry here for my workers. So that's the other thing too. Naughty, you know, you gotta go out there and visit that shop sometime. Try to get what you can, you know. But that S store over there, I don't mess around with them. I blew almost $80,000 a couple years ago on engine building materials, seals, I mean equipment, things like that, just to get busy. I mean, this stuff that you see around here, everything is needed. It costs money. Jigs and all that stuff you see on the walls. Then I got your stock that you got to have your stock in if you're going to get into this business and just know what you're doing, you know. Especially in blower drives and stuff like that. I mean, I could do them, but I don't do them anymore. Just send them out to the B&M company, or not B&M, Zizzles over there, and he'll reline them, refin them, and Teflon them, and do a real good job for you, you know. I can't do that anymore, so I'm just a part of the industry I don't play with anymore. So, but I still do axles, 4 to 9 inches. I cut them down. I do the gear ratios, do the gear builds. I got a bunch of them to do. Cylinder head rebuilding, block rebuilding. I mean, there's a ton of work out here waiting for me. You know, these are done. That's done. Waiting for the job to be done. Customers, you know, pandemic stuff. I just set the jobs to the side, no charge, and when you get the money, come on by and we'll start building your engine together, you know. Yeah, what irked me about that S company is, I'm not going to say their name, but you know who they are out there in Talmadge, Ohio. Order all this stuff for a customer, spent a little over $7,000, which you guys know. That's a good build for a big block Chevy, $7,000. It's a lot of parts, and I ain't even labor or anything like that. And I said, hey, could you throw in a couple hats for my customer? You know, that just dropped the bank with you guys. You know, and he said, well, those would be $10.50 a piece. I said, wait a minute. I said, I just dropped some bank with you. You can't throw in a couple hats? No, you're going to be charged for them. I said, I'll tell you what, I cancel the order now. I said, forget about it. Anyways, I hung up with the guy. All of a sudden, I get a phone call from a general manager on that one. I said, I'm done, you know. I said, you can't even send a simple hat. So I got back with Jegs, made some contacts over there. No problem. I turned around and spent the money, actually saved more money because I got rid of them. And he threw in 15 hats for nothing. I mean, they're just stupid hats, yeah. But the point is, if I don't have a big race trailer and a rig like some of my friends do, you know, and they get whatever they want, but yet I'm one of the little guys that's still helping out in the industry, dropping bank at your store, you know, and you can't even give you a stinking $1 hat. That doesn't even cost them that, how many they buy. They probably get them for $0.25 a piece, geez, I was just going to give it to the customers so they could be proud of where they get their parts and advertise for them. I don't believe in it myself, but because all my engine parts are always blank. Nothing says nothing on any of my engines. It's blank. When they start cutting me a chink, okay, I'll put your name on the parts. I'll leave them on there, Mr. Moroso, Mr. Gasket, Mr. ARP, and Comp, and all that stuff. When you start paying for my parts and giving me a check to help my customers, because I'm going to push it onto them. I ain't going to take that money. I'm going to give it to them. So give them a good part, give them a good deal, and you're going to get a repeat customer. It's real simple philosophy, you know. Like a buddy of mine, he's in heavy construction, and he'll only stick with certain companies that are willing to work with him and the lumber prices, especially now. He's got like 35 houses to build, and during the pandemic, he basically shut down. He was working like he said, when he was younger, by himself, building homes. Because he didn't want to hire nobody in there because of the pandemic, which is scary enough, you know. Anyways, going from there. Anyways, work with Jegs. Now you can see I get the parts, no problem. I call up, tell them what I need. I need a thumper cam. Send me one out. Make sure I got all the bells and whistles with it. Send me the proper valve springs. Send me the keepers, 5 degree, 6 degree, whatever. I says, and I'll make sure I tell you what the deck is and everything like that. You got to know what your deck height. It's a lot of math in there. Make sure you Google that too, how to build your valve train correctly. There's a lot of good math out there to help you out. Remember, I am not a perfect guy by any means. All right, I just know my stuff. I've been doing it for years. Been building a lot of engines. There's a lot of them out there, you know, that I've done, and no complaints. And I've always stood by my work, and you know what I do. I do a lot of the machine work. I do a lot of the assembly. Well, all 100% assembly. So, but you got to check them out. And sometimes, you, like I said, you get a soft one in there, and it makes you mad as hell because that's my name on there. You know, so you got to cover that for a little bit. So if there's something wrong, don't charge them any labor. Just do the job, do it right, and be done with it, you know. And then if he has any more problems, be there for him. Don't be a jerk. There's an old saying I love to use, which is, you like what I do, tell a friend. You got a problem, you tell me, man. I said, I'll make sure I take care of it, you know. But it's just how I do things. And no, I don't hand out business cards, sorry. I do everything by handshake. That's a good business right there. Business cards are for fools, you know. Anyways, our next thing, like I said, is going to be the valve train. As soon as my heads come back from hot tanking and my block comes back, you'll start seeing this thing fly together real quick. And, well, not real quick. There's a lot of measurements. Goes into the crank, end plays, and everything, you know. But Jegs is my guys that I use. They always take care of me, answer the phone quickly, and if you can build a good rapport with them next time you're at track, make sure you go over there and talk to them and let them know your experience. If you've had a bad experience at Jegs, they'll sit down and work with you. I couldn't believe it. My one buddy, he said, oh, I never use him. I use the other guy. And I said, oh, that's good. That's good. Well, we were out there at Summit Raceway Park, which was Norwalk, Ohio, and Jegs was there. The trailer was there. And he wouldn't go with me. I said, come on. You know, he went over there, and the guys talked to him, and I told the guys, I said, yeah, he hates you guys. And the guy went over there, out come out one of the bigwigs. What happened? And he went into the whole story, jumping up and down and everything, getting all upset. You know, I mean, it upsets the people sometimes. You know, me, I just let it go off my back. Hell with you. You just don't get my money. I'll go somewhere else. There's plenty of places out there, local speed shops I prefer to use. And I use 3 different ones out here. I use, let's see, Johnny Boy's out there, Motorheads, and Dean Gilner. I'll get parts out there once in a while, you know. He's out towards Cleveland. This guy's in PC Automotive. I use Mike over there. Baker and Wright, or, well, Motorheads now. But, and Rick Speed Shop, Johnny runs it over there. And a couple other ones I use, local speed shops where I buy my parts. Hey, I like to support locally. But if I need something hard parts, I'm sorry, I'm going to deal with my guys at Jegs. You'll put a package together. That's why. It's a complete package with all the retainers, everything that I need. And I ain't got to second guess it. And if I'm using the new Teflon seals or the Vicon seals or just umbrella seals, I still use them on some jobs, especially farm equipment. I'll use an umbrella, and there's a reason for it. I want that guy to get oil. That engine's going to be nothing but torque. There's no high speed to it. It's all about torque. So hot oil dripping down some of them guides, I'll make them a little looser just because of that. And when I ream out a guide, or press in a new one. Because I want them guides oiled. I want them valves wear as evenly as they could, especially on the flatheads. You want that kind of everything staying oiled, less wear and friction. And always, I use for my break-in oil, I use either the comp break-in oil right here. Right here is what I use on the big blocks for break-in. Hopefully you can see that. There you go. Okay. Or I'll just use diesel oil. I'll get the oil from local Dunlap down here rig, and he'll pump me out some diesel oil. It's got all the additives already in it. You ain't got to add nothing to it, because those diesels run all them additives normally, for wear and tear and mileage, so makes excellent break-in oil. Sure, it's 50 weight, but during the summertime, that's worked perfectly here, the thicker grades. During the summertime, wintertime, you want to drop your viscosity. That way you can turn it over without having to put a fire under it. Back in the old days, there was a couple air starter combines I had to go help start. In the middle of a winter, it was stuck in the field. We're out there, we've got bonfires underneath the engine just trying to heat it up. My God, 3 hours later, we finally get her to turn over and get that thing running. And I think it was 6 trucks, all jumper cabled up, building up pressure with the pumps. Finally got the crank and got her running. And once he got her running, he made a beeline for the barn, get that thing out of the weather and out of the field, because he got stuck out there, and we had to get it out after that, after we got it running, Luckily, he had a D9 with him, a good old deer, and he pulled it right out after he got it running so you can have the assist, but all that gear you couldn't take nothing off, couldn't get nothing out of the field, so we had to run it full, Well, anyways, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Hope you all have a blessed day. And if you see somebody out there that's cold, hey, take the time. Don't do this for me. Do it for yourself. We got a lot of homeless people now. I mean, just look at over there in California. I mean, that's bad management there. Let me tell you. Oh boy, I ain't gonna get into no politics because it upsets me so much what this country's coming down to. Anyway, I'm gonna shut my pie hole on that. Veterans are out on the street. If you get a chance, stop at Dollar Tree, pick up gloves, socks, underwears. I mean, things we take for granted because, we just always have that. They don't have it when it's wet and cold. They'll get rained on. And here in Northeast Ohio, it's wintertime now. Even garbage bags. If you got extra garbage bags, they will take them because they wrap their feet up in them with 2 pairs of socks. And sometimes their boots or sneakers, or I've seen one lady out there. She had flip-flops on in the middle of winter, walking through snow and bunny slippers, you girls call them, I guess, or regular just slippers. She didn't have no shoes. So I went out and bought her some, over at Goodwill. I don't know what her size was, I just assumed. So she took them. And that way she had something to wear on her feet. But she loved the garbage bags. She'll put them on there with 2 pairs, 3 pairs of socks. And she says she just walks them, and when she feels it getting a little too cold, she knows to change the bag out. So if you get a chance, you see something going on like that, don't stop. All you got to do is just lower your window down, yell at the guy, say, "Here, this is for you," and throw it out, because you don't want to disgrace them or anything. They're in a bad way, and the human equation is, they want to say thank you and everything like that, and then you got to go into a story and stuff like that, which is usually a good story. Bring you to tears. But if you just do it that way, you ain't got to deal with, if you don't trust a person or something, especially being a female. I don't want you doing this alone. Always have somebody with you for witness in case you get somebody that's a little eccentric. They're out there, but they need help too. And you can't let mental illness be a reason not to help a person. Okay? All right. Anyways, I'm going to turn you loose, as the Canadians say up north, or Red Green Show. Keep your stick on the ice. If you don't find you handsome, they'll find you handy. And for us other guys, keep your nuts in the vise. And I say, bless the Z and travel well, stay in the light. And God bless. I'll be back with you here shortly as soon as I get my castings in. I'm out of here.